Happy Friday to you all. Hope everything's going well in your world. Today, taking a little break from the office. I'm out here about an hour away from Ellensburg, and I'm actually looking west at the moment. So Ellensburg is up and over the ridge. I'm on the Grant County, or the east side of the Columbia River, looking north. That's West Bar. So those tan hills just across the river, West Bar, get it? A bar of gravels on the west side of the Columbia River. That's what Jerome Lessman was referring to, with some giant current ripples on them a couple days ago. And I'm thinking about all that Ice Age floodwater as I was trying to visualize and discuss and go back and forth with Jerome up in the Okanagan near Omak. I don't know if you saw that video yet or not. How much of that Okanagan water is coming at us? Is it really Okanagan water coming at us? Let's leave that alone for now. If we look at the Basalt cliffs on the west side right above the Columbia River, I just got a little jolt of electricity because just with my eye I picked out that lodge stick, that piece of petrified wood that's standing vertically in the cliff that was such a landmark for many of the 19th century travelers, white folks coming down the river, and then of course it was a landmark for thousands and thousands of years before that with Native Americans. I think, iPhone, oh man, I think I've got it. Can you see it? If I hold the camera as steady as possible, I can't use my finger to point. I got it right in the middle of the frame, I think, holding it as absolutely still as I can. Do you see that white little toothpick lodged in there among the pillows? We did a video on that last summer with Jason flying his drone over there and getting some detailed photos. So that's kind of fun. Well, this is a little, kitchen sink video basically, because there's more things to share with you. I got a tip that there was something cool over here, and I've found the tip, so that's where we'll end the video. But now I'm looking south with you. Things have dried out. The wildflowers are past. Didn't take long, really. But if I zoom now to the south, do you recognize that? Some collections of white buildings with greenery beyond and a little amphitheater. That's right. That's the Gorge Amphitheater. That's a music venue. Dave Matthews Band every Labor Day weekend and so on. But the real reason I'm here is some of the basalt outcroppings. Use that term on purpose. Not a term used in my world that much, but a lot of people say that. Outcroppings. Let's wander over here. So I'm not equipped to follow through on Jerome's discussion. Speed of the water, height of the water, elevations of flats. But I can just kind of comment briefly that as I was driving back Wednesday evening from my 2 days with Jerome, I followed that great terrace from Brewster. Still had beautiful exposures of the great terrace, Chelan. Kept driving south, still on the great terrace. I was on the east side of the river, driving south. Still the great terrace until you get to Earthquake Point. And then that great terrace appeared to abruptly stop. Now, I've never noticed exactly where that great terrace stopped like that before, and I wonder if there's a significance for that terrace stopping at Earthquake Point. I'll leave that alone too. This is just a stream of consciousness video. Okay, so shout out to Norm MacDonald. So the tip that I received is that there are some absolutely adorable columns, basalt columns. And in the description below, I will give you the GPS location for this. And yes, if you know the area at all, Ancient Lakes, or Potholes Coulee, is kind of off that way. So this is the mouth or the opening of Potholes Coulee here, as the Ice Age floodwaters coming from Quincy Basin, spilling into Potholes Coulee, and then that water is heading south once it dumps into the Columbia Valley. So all that damaging Ice Age flood erosion, of course, removed a lot of basalt. But these little Tootsie Rolls survived. And I think you might enjoy climbing around on these, especially if you have kids. The scale of these columns is just perfect, even more bite-sized or mini than at Drumheller Channels. I confess I don't know which flow this is. I have serious doubts it's Elephant Mountain flow. The stratigraphic position is we're right on top of Babcock Bench, so therefore we're right on top of the Grand Ronde flows. So we're in the Frenchman Springs flows, I think. This doesn't look like Rosa. These don't look like Kirkle cut French fries to me, Patrick. So, I don't know. Should I have done my homework? Probably. But instead, I think I'll finish a little video by going up on top, because again, it doesn't take much effort. But let's swing around to this side. I'm surprised at how much the vegetation has dried out and how the wildflowers are past, except in these little places where you have a little protection from, in other words, you have kind of a northern aspect, and you get little pockets of green and wetness for a desert along this north face. So to get to this location, to hike, it's about an hour walk from the Ancient Lakes trailhead, and you'll work your way down to this location. Kind of handsome, huh? No vesicles at the top. That's not lava, you fool. Those are the roots of giant petrified trees. No comment. Going up. If I drop my hammer here, no problem. Let's go up another flight. And again. So thanks for the tip. Didn't know about these columns. I don't know. Well, let's just keep rolling. Start walking back to the car. I don't know how much you've kept up with the videos here on the channel. It's been a fun stretch, especially meeting up with some geologists in the field. And the twist may be clear to you, maybe not, is that I'm checking in with folks who are in the middle of their work, which is not normally the way this operates, you know. First of all, how much geology was on the internet and how much geology was available for consumption 10 years ago? Not much. Okay, so then what do you get in the last decade? You get polished presentations, right? In other words, you're not going to speak up, you're not going to present anything, quote unquote, until you have all your data. You have everything carefully written out, you have a published paper, and then you start, sharing your work. And yes, of course, that needs to continue. That is the norm, and that is the main approach. I guess what I'm trying to do here is to try to capture a little bit of what it's like when you're in the early stages or the middle stages of some work as a field geologist. And I think Coulee's video with the calcretes over by Othello, and I mean that was, I met up with him, last Sunday. We chatted for probably 10 minutes in the parking lot of a Walmart. Head out to the outcrop, start filming right away, chat a little bit more off camera, but not much, and then away we go. We part ways. And a guy like Sky could have said, hey, I'm not gonna say anything until I have everything figured out. I'm not gonna, this is important. I'm not gonna show what's going on in the sausage factory. You got to wait till the sausage is done and in the display case. So I appreciate the trust of guys like Sky. And then with Jerome Lessman, and again, I just referred to it at the beginning of this video, but we were up in the Okanagan, and Jerome is in the earliest stages of trying to make sense of those landforms near Omak, Washington. Now, he's not a rookie. He's been at this game of working with glacial deposits on the BC side of the Okanagan. So it's not like he's just starting his career. That's far from it. And he's a gifted, trained geoscientist. But again, I think you're hearing what I'm saying. This guy is allowing me to put a spotlight on what he's doing in the very earliest stages of what he's doing, between taking measurements of stuff that he's noticed on LiDAR. So that takes a certain level of trust and I think even guts to allow this. And you're like, oh, come on, get over yourself. There's not that many people watching these videos. Well, I don't know. I think it's clear by now we have geologists watching these videos. And if we really want to go dark, sometimes when you're a scientist, I can only speak to geology, but I assume it's other areas of research as well. You hold tight to your discoveries. You hold tight to your data. You don't share anything about what's going on until you've published the thing, because, and I think there's a long record of history with this in geology, in sciences in general. People steal your stuff, man. They'll cherry pick what you were working on and publish before you, and all this, worst case scenario with human behavior, and careers on the line and everything else. And I feel like I want to say it. Jerome Lessman No, I don't want to say it. So thanks to Jerome, thanks to Sky, and thanks to you for having an interest in what I think is an unusual approach. showing different stages of the work as opposed to just the finished product. And that's true for me too. If I ever get back to, doing these polished downtown lectures where I, rehearse the whole thing in my head, word for word over and over as I walk around our neighborhood and talk out loud to myself, which was the case for many years. If I ever get back to that, it's going to be polishing and getting everything exactly the way that I want it for a public, professional, quote-unquote talk. And, I've heard from many of you, you're like, why don't you go back to that? I much prefer that than this raw, unscripted, impromptu stuff. Okay, well, maybe I will. But for now, it still feels fun that I'm exploring new ways to do things. And that's the charge as well. Okay, well, I've already talked 16 minutes. I might as well continue because I know we'll finish up here because we've got a great example of some basalt stratigraphy, even though I don't know the individual flows by name right here. There's a couple things to point out, especially if the sun pokes through. It's one of those afternoons where the sun is hiding and then it's out, and then it's hiding and then it's out. Very pleasant. I met with some brand new students in my office, transfer students. The videos are working. They're showing up. Now, would they have come anyway to visit me on a Friday morning and talk about the program and talk about transferring their credits? I don't know. Maybe. But in addition to these videos with a new twist with geologists in the field, also, I think some of you, most of you know that I've been trying to showcase the building, showcase our program so that we can open up the pipeline a little bit more from high schools, from two-year schools across the state, or maybe even further afield. And potentially encouraging some more mid-career people to finally get the guts to go back to school. I've gotten plenty of emails from folks wondering about if it's doable for them. And all I can do is be encouraging, and I know that it's not cheap. And I know that it's a major disruption in a person's life to basically quit work and go back to school, but in some cases maybe people are not quitting work, they're just looking for a new direction. To me, this is a great example of one lava flow with a lower colonnade and an entablature, which is the chaotically fractured middle part of the flow that has not been eroded here. And if you are familiar with the Elephant Mountain lava flow from Drumheller channels, the lower colonnade is there, but the entablature, which I was discussing with the group, was stripped away by the floods, Ice Age floods. Let's find some better light. I'm just now entering the foot of Potholes Coulee. We're walking east. It's all state land. If this looks like a good time to you, this is all out here waiting for you. Thank you. I love you. And goodbye.